Our Rocky Vendors Association with a bone to pick with the authorities. That story is straight ahead.
Our news is brought to you by Alive, the nation's newest and best LTE network.
Good to be alive.
Welcome to our news and thanks for joining us. I'm Kyle Joaquim. Topping news tonight, while Attorney General Carl Bethel has reported a nearly threefold decrease in the issuance of nollie prosecutions in 2017, former Court of Appeal President Dame Joan Sawyer insists those figures are nothing to celebrate as the FNM has not been in power that long. In fact, Sawyer says it's less about numbers and more about the effective use of the judicial power. Joan Brown reports.
Dame Joan was responding to Bethel, who presented those statistics at the opening of the 2017 legal year on Thursday. He noted that in 2017, fewer backlogged cases were discontinued by the issuance of nollies. In 2017, 31 nollies were issued. That's compared to the 96 issued the previous year. However, the former Court of Appeal president is not impressed.
I don't see it as anything to celebrate because how long have they been in office? It's not a year yet. And how long is he going to be there as Attorney General? Do we know? Because the surprise to me was that he became Attorney General. He did not run in the election, did he? I'd heard a rumor that somebody else was supposed to be.
Dame Joan quickly added that she believes Bethel is more than qualified to hold the AG post, as she highlighted the fact that he served as AG under the former Ingram administration. Meantime, Bethel has said the decrease is indicative of a policy to use the power of the nollie more sparingly and only in those cases which are hopelessly beyond prosecution. But Dame Joan insists policies do not take precedence over the law.
I don't know of any such policy because I didn't know the policy could override law. Whatever your policy is, it has nothing to do with the law.
Sawyer adds that at the end of the day, it's not about making the popular decision.
I think they should go by what the law says and what the balance of convenience may require in the exercise of justice. The discretion must be exercised judiciously. In other words, you think carefully before you exercise it. You know? It's not an easy job. It's not meant to be easy, and there's no one size fits all. Every case must be determined on its own facts.
The issuance of nollies came under heavy scrutiny under the former Christie administration. There were claims that the procedure was being abused when a gun case against a couple, whom former Attorney General Allison Maynard Gibson had represented at their arraignment, was discontinued by acting AG Jerome Fitzgerald. Reporting for our news, I'm Jasmine Brown.
Former Attorney General Allison Maynard Gibson weighing in on the Prime Minister's promise to have the 2016 charges of Cabbage Beach vendors cleared. Maynard Gibson says she's going to watch and see how this one plays out because, as far as she knows, that kind of power does not lie in the hands of a Prime Minister.
There is no power vested in the Prime Minister, in any Prime Minister, to discontinue any action. That power at the moment is vested in the Attorney General.
According to Press Secretary Anthony Newbold, the Prime Minister intends to live up to his commitment to wipe clean the records of 10 people charged in relation to the destruction of a fence on Cabbage Beach if they are convicted, even though he has no legal authority to do so. Maynard Gibson recommends the educational system do a better job with teaching civics.
And it is not a political decision. And as I indicated just now, it is based upon advice. And so we need to make sure, I think, that all of our citizens understand our legal system, and we need to look at civics classes and classes like that, because in that instance, people would understand that a Prime Minister cannot discontinue any legal action, cannot, by law.
When it comes to the AG's power to throw out a case or grant a nollie prosecute, Attorney General Carl Bethel yesterday said the Minister administration uses nollies sparingly compared to the previous administration. Maynard Gibson today clarifying the use of nollies while she served as AG.
As I told you, there were many, many rapes and murders that had been sitting in the queue for 8 years and more. If there's a rape that occurred 8 years ago, the victim has no desire to proceed. We don't have witnesses, a problem with the evidence, we would discontinue the action. A murder, for example, where a key witness may have died, you discontinue the action. There were many, many circumstances like that.
This isn't the first time the former AG has explained the previous government's use of nollies. On numerous occasions, Maynard Gibson had to explain that she routinely exercised her discretion to sign a nollie, having received the benefit of the written advice and recommendation of the Director of Public Prosecutions. The job of AG is hard, she says, and calls for a person with integrity.
It's a very hard job. But I think the hard thing is recognizing the heavy mantle that one wears, first of all, of public service, then also of public trust. And I do think it's a little different from other cabinet ministries. It's in the Constitution. You must have an Attorney General. And also, the fact of the matter is that you cannot have a legal system that functions well without lawyers, and the head of the bar is the Attorney General, that uphold the dignity of the system and conduct themselves with integrity.
Acting Chief Justice Stephen Isaacs is calling on the government to immediately return the power to grant bail for minor offenses to magistrates.
Returning the authority to magistrates to grant bail in all but the most serious offenses, such as murder, manslaughter, and armed robbery, ought to be given more than lip service, which is all that it has received to date. The statutory authority of magistrates to grant bail for minor offenses ought to be returned forthwith.
The 2011 amendment to the Bail Act removed the authority of magistrates to grant bail for a variety of offenses. Isaac said the move was counterproductive.
What we have seen, however, is applicants approaching the court, normally through a lawyer, on an unlisted bail matter for a minor offense, where it is already known that there is not going to be an objection by the Crown. This amendment has not only increased the workload of the Supreme Court and often throws the bail list out of sync, but more insidiously, it strands young persons in prison for minor offenses prior to trial, when previously a magistrate would routinely grant bail.
The issue is currently facing a constitutional challenge in the Supreme Court. Isaac said while the move may have been well-intentioned, it did not produce the expected results.
The magistrates' courts, unlike the Supreme Court, is a creation of statute. So when legislature is amended, the general principle is that magistrates are bound by the amended statute. This is a serious issue, and I can only fathom that the aim of the executive was to pitch in on the fight against crime, which was to be commended. There has been, however, some perverse results. I use as an example the fact that the magistrate cannot grant bail for some minor offenses, but the police can.
Well, on the heels of a U.S. Embassy advisory which warned American visitors not to visit the fish fry at night, the Arawak Key Vendors Association is blaming ineffective policing for issues at the popular hangout. Jared Higgs reports.
A U.S. Embassy advisory warning American citizens not to visit the fish fry at night isn't sitting well with the Arawak Key Vendors Association. President Rodney Russell says he believes the advisory is a result of visitors being targeted by petty criminals, a nuisance that he says he raised with the authorities before.
In July of 2017, the Arawak Key Association met with the Minister of Agriculture and Fisheries, where we air our concerns about safety, illicit activities, lighting, security, and the harassment of our guests. To this date,
the association says a part of the problem is that there aren't enough officers manning the Arawak Key police station.
The police in Arawak Key is undermanned. We have asked for police support. We have not received police report. We receive harassment by our visitors and our guests from the police by moving cars and impeding the roads, creating a problem for businesses in Arawak Key.
One of the vendors' biggest issues is that on Sundays and holidays, this barricade gets pulled across the road, blocking traffic from coming through, and the same thing happens at the other end of the road. They say this prevents people from coming to their businesses on Sundays and holidays, which are typically very busy days for them.
Alfred Butterfield is the association's treasurer. He says his business, which is located on the western end of the fish fry, suffers greatly due to the road closure.
So I like for the Bayman people who comes out here, who be impeded, can't drive through. They have to park so far. They comes into the establishment, ready to leave, it's raining. their car all the way down by the fort. It's unfair, man.
Despite the unfair feelings brought about by the U.S. Embassy warning, Russell apologized to tourists and Bahamians who may have been victims of crime near their establishments.
I would like to apologize to our visitors and guests for the negative experience that they encountered on Arawak Key. Those persons whose cars were stolen, those cars that were broke into and personal items stolen, persons being accosted, I again apologize to you.
Reporting for our News, I'm Jared Higgs.
Well, when contacted for a response, Minister of National Security Marvin Dames pointed out there is a superintendent with direct oversight of Arawak Key. He said this is a major undertaking given that superintendents of the police force are divisional heads and Arawak Key is being treated like a division unto itself. The minister foreshadowed that the police commissioner will have more to say on the matter in due course. Well, with the United States House of Representatives voting to reauthorize foreign surveillance of U.S. companies and foreign targets outside the U.S. yesterday, Minister of Foreign Affairs Darren Henfield said no country has the right to infringe upon the fundamental rights of Bahamians, and the Bahamian government will seek to determine whether the U.S. has continued spying on Bahamian citizens. According to leaked NSA documents, a U.S. surveillance program in 2011 under the National Security Agency saw every cell phone conversation in the Bahamas recorded and archived for a period up to 30 days. Henfield said such a breach is just unacceptable. When asked whether the Bahamas is currently under surveillance by the U.S., Henfield could not say, but noted that the authorization sought by the House seeks to extend the existing program that was in place. Well, if you thought flooding in New Providence was bad yesterday, following thunderstorms and heavy rainfall, it was a drop in the bucket compared to the waist-deep water many Exuma residents were forced to wade through after Mother Nature dumped inches of rain on the island yesterday.
All right, that's about 5 foot of water right here. That's a Jeep Cherokee straight ahead, but we're going to take the back road.
On Thursday, the Bahamas Met Department issued a severe weather warning for the northern Exuma Keys and New Providence. Satellite imagery indicated a cluster of showers with embedded thunderstorms associated with a mid to upper level low pressure system. Met officials also reported a network of rainfall across the northwest and central islands, which recorded 3 to 5 inches of rain. Videos like this one of a stranded bus were circulated on social media today. As we move into the weekend, officials expect weather conditions to improve. Still to come on our news, a look at how many complaints were logged against local attorneys last year. So stay tuned.